Yeah, I just love the great, and it's like so
Yeah.
ridiculously over the top a lot of the time. And so somehow the choir like plugged into that, you're like, yeah, we know.
I overheard my father talking last night. He said your father is a fool, that you have practically no money, and that you'll soon lose everything.
I don't think that's true. We had strawberries last night, so they are expensive fruit. I always equate them with optimism and happiness.
God, you're a child.
Not true. I am to be married.
Who would marry you? Does this crazy man know your family situation? That you have nothing?
He cares not for such matters. Emperor Peter and I are about finer things.
Emperor Peter? Of Russia?
Yep. Russia. I'm to be Empress of Russia, Angeline. Isn't that so completely right?
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes!
No.
Da. Niet. They have bears. I may get one. They look cute.
So my mom got me started on Suzuki violin when I was about 4 years old in Japan, when we were living in Japan. And like sitting down at the piano, rather than having to learn pieces, I just wanted to sort of mess around and improvise, and composing is improvising. So that was kind of how it started. And then when I came to Los Angeles in '96, I sent in a random job resume to Hans's company, not before he was sort of who he is today, although he was still certainly well known, and I got the job working with him, and that was when I really started to plug into the idea of being a composer. And he was nice enough to let me use his studio when he wasn't in there working. There was so much to absorb there, and in the process, then when I was doing my first couple films, I sort of started to figure out what my process was and how it was different, and how that worked for me. I started out just doing features. I wasn't doing much television, so I've done about 43 feature films to date. Well, one of my first breaks was meeting Eli Roth, who had like a really interesting idea about what horror films were, and he and I really bonded over that with Cabin Fever and Hostel and some of these projects. The score to Hostel ended up in the cutting room on a show called True Blood in the pilot, and I got a call from Alan Ball and went in and met with him, and that was sort of the first really big break. That came out of nowhere. I went in to meet with Alan at HBO and just told them honestly, like, I loved that I was sitting there and I wanted to be a part of the project, but I felt like the music of mine that they used was totally wrong for the show. and after the fact, after getting the job, one of the execs from HBO said that was the first time they'd ever had a composer come in and like shoot down his own work in the process of trying to get a gig. So I think they appreciated that sort of honesty, and I did take it in a very different direction from what they had temped in. I mean, I heard someone describe it once as like, it's the thing that pulls the audience back in the room after getting popcorn. They know the show is starting, and sort of completely setting up for the audience what this show is, what's the tone of the show, what kind of journey are they going to be taking, who are the characters, all that stuff has to be sort of inherent in what you do in the main title. I think the really cool thing about being a film and TV composer, if you can get out of that sort of place of being pigeonholed in whatever you're known for, is the ability to do so many different genres and different styles of storytelling. Like in terms of the great, that particular period, sort of 18th century music was really interesting, but this is quite a different take on that. That plugs into sort of the electronic side of things. Hollywood is much more of a score rooted in traditional 1940s orchestration and jazz, In the case of Hollywood, it was really about writing good tunes. Like that was at the Ryan Murphy camp, Alexis Woodall included. Or it's really important to them to have good melodies that people can whistle, simple melodies. And I think in both those shows and in Carnival Row, like at the end of the day, it's about like, can you write a decent tune that is going to apply itself to storyline or multiple storylines throughout the course of a show. When we think of TV today versus 20, 30, 40 years ago, it's a different experience today for many reasons. And if the story's compelling and the characters are compelling, the idea of like working on a 10-hour arc as opposed to a 2-hour arc or a 90-minute arc is really exciting. Something that begins the season as this little 2 or 3 note idea may become the entire theme by the time you get to the end of 10 hours. I mean, I just love movies and I love TV. I've loved them my whole life. I love music, and so in my spare time, I'm going to movies, I'm watching TV, I'm listening to music. In my work time, I'm watching movies, watching TV, and listening to music and writing music. So it's just like that. It is my life. So even when it's difficult and it's not fun, it's still like, wow, I'm getting to do something that is exactly what I wanted to do when I was growing up.